going on, boys? It's Daddy Big here. Welcome back to the podcast. I think it's...
Hi, I'm Lucas.
Hey, I didn't prompt you yet.
Sorry.
And, anyways, introduce yourself, Lucas.
I'm Lucas.
Very good.
Thank you. It's an honor to be back on the podcast.
Very much so. Well, today we're gonna be. I'll get to as you all know, Lucas is my film hoe, and he's a film bro. So
That was remarkable, Cameron.
yeah, so we're gonna be talking. Recently, Lucas showed me this film, a little film called Dead Poets Society. And my thing is, even though I literally make films with Lucas, I don't really watch films like pretty much ever.
Yeah, he really doesn't at all.
So if it weren't for him, I probably never would. But I honestly really, really liked the film. So I thought it would be good to this will probably end up being a shorter episode, but I thought it'd be good to have a little discussion about it. Just kind of talk about, and let me just say, spoiler warning.
Oh yeah.
There will be spoilers for Dead Poets Society in the podcast.
I like
to
say
talking about the film. So if you want to watch it, then go watch it before we talk about it.
Yeah, definitely go do that. It's actually available on Amazon Prime to rent. I know that.
Not sponsored.
Because should I talk about Film Club?
Yeah, I mean, we started a little club where we get together and analyze films with people that want to come.
Yeah, and the first movie was Dead Poets Society, which is why
Yes.
I showed it to Cam.
Yes.
And I like to say that, honestly, if it wasn't for me, Cam probably wouldn't have seen the last 5 movies that he watched over the past 2 years.
And every time you show me a movie, I'm like, wow, that's awesome. I love movies. And then I never go to watch them again.
Okay. Anyways, what would you like to talk about with Dead Poets Society?
Oh, it's your podcast now, huh? It's your podcast?
I'm asking you to ask me a question.
Oh.
Oh my god.
It's called Daddy Big's Deliriums for a good reason. We just recorded the episode that was the hour-long one from 5 weeks ago, and we just went straight into this before lunch because we decided to just power through it, and I can't even think with my own brain cells. But anyways, Dead Poets Society, right? What a film. And I think, I don't know, one thing I really, really liked about the film was that the characters, it was very much so like, it almost kind of felt like a bit like a slice of life kind of thing at some points.
Okay.
Just because I feel like the characters were written in a way that made them feel very real. Because, like, obviously Neil is kind of the main character. A lot of the plot kind of centralizes around him, but also it's about this group, and also about Keatings, the teacher, but it's about the group as well. And every member of the group has their own distinct personality. And I mean, one thing I really, really love about the film too is when the Dead Poet Society after Neil's suicide, and the Dead Poet Society gets blamed and Keatings gets fired and all that, one of the members of the Dead Poet Society rats the rest of them out. I don't remember the redheaded one.
Cameron was his name.
Really? So Cameron rats out the Dead Poet Society, right?
Yeah, he's a little rat.
And all the other guys got really mad at him and like punched him in the nose and stuff, and he was saying to him like guys, it's not worth it. Keatings was on the rocks anyways. Is that a thing? No, it's not.
I don't know what that means.
On the rocks is like it's like when you want ice in your tequila and your martini bikini,
Yeah, but what does that mean like for a person?
Is that what is it? On the something? I don't
really need a chicken sandwich.
I do need a chicken sandwich. But no, he basically said like Keatings is already done for. You might as well save yourself. And it's just like what I love so much about that is like if it were like a movie about like the perfect power of friendship, first of all, Neil wouldn't have died, but also they wouldn't have ratted each other out. But I just love, because like it makes perfect sense. If you have a group of like 10 kids and it comes to the point of expulsion, someone is going to crack and snitch on everyone, and like the kids, like they mess up, they do dumb stuff, and I don't know, just kind of one of the first things that popped in my head when you just asked me was like, I just really like how the characters are written and how it feels like they're real,
Okay,
and
so...
Lucas, is more technical with analyzing films than I am. So I'd be interested to hear like what you have to say about my thoughts on that.
Okay, so yeah, you were talking about you think that the characters are really realistic,
Yeah.
and a lot of that comes from the ending and how in the ending nothing is perfect. There is absolutely not a happy ending, but it
Yeah.
still ends on a high note. I mean, in the end, Neil's dead, Keating's fired. Uh, one of Cameron kind of snitched on everybody. He kind of lost his group of friends, and one of them was expelled um, for doing some other stuff that was prompted by the Dead Poet Society. So the movie isn't supposed to show how life is perfect, or it's just supposed to show how life is just so difficult, but you need to find the beauty in it, and you need to survive past that. Because each character has
Suck
their
the
own.
marrow out of life, perhaps.
Exactly. So,
Seize the day, maybe.
yeah, because each character has their own kind of arc, which is expressed really well throughout the movie. I don't have it in front of me, so I can't talk about like specific use of camera angles or colors as much as I'd like to. Um, but I mean, you've got Todd, whose whole thing is that he's really shy,
Mm-hmm.
and then he learns to be more outspoken. You've got Neil, who really wants to act, and then he tries to act, and then he does, and then he dies. Um, those are the main two.
Yeah, and that's another thing about the movie that I like as well is that, or it's more so just narrative wise, but like Todd and Neil really are more so the main characters
Yeah,
because they develop throughout the story. You know, that's kind of like an indicator.
yeah,
Whereas some of the other characters, like even just in the Dead Poet Society, or even to some extent Keating's, are just more so static. You know, so our focus is like more on Neil and Todd, and that like is one of the more enthralling things about the plot. You know.
yeah. Do you think that we should go into the analytical kind of stuff? Like,
I'm down for whatever.
okay, so just a few things.
Like, you're more technical than me,
Yeah.
so.
The first time that the Dead Poets Society meets, I just want to talk about that because
That scene where they're like going through the forest and everything's super blue
Yeah.
and black,
yeah,
and the music is like all
exactly. Yeah, it's so well done. I mean, like Cam just said, they use blue. The music, we actually took a good look at the music during film club. Because the music that plays while they're running towards their first meeting in the woods, and it's all mystical and magical, that's the same music, or it's very similar music to Neil's suicide.
yeah. Those two scenes are linked, and like the thing is, when I went back during film club when we were film club and we were showing it off, and I went back and was showing the comparison between them, they aren't identical. They're not like a direct, like it's not like a direct recapitulation or anything. But just throughout the film, there's either very little use of music because the scenes are supposed to feel real, like you're there,
Yeah.
or it's just like classical stuff,
Yeah.
kind of classical music. But for those two scenes in particular, the music was very different, and in their way to go to the Dead Poet Society, there was a lot of just like wispy, kind of arrhythmic kind of, and like there was some synthesizers and those kinds of things that aren't present anywhere else in the soundtrack. Like mostly like
Yeah.
instrumentation wise, the synths are like for the rest of the soundtrack, it's all like real instruments like orchestras.
Yeah.
And for that part, it was a lot of electronics, a lot of different stuff. And then for the scene with Neil's suicide, there was a drone very present, just
Yeah.
like a frequency, which is just like it plays the same note over and over again. Like I'll try to here. I have my piano behind me. let me pull out a drone I used. 1 second. You want to talk about it for a second, Lucas?
Yeah. So we talked about how the link between those two scenes, between the Dead Poet Society meeting for the first time and Neil's death, is that it kind of shows like Neil entering and exiting that time frame, or just the entire group entering and exiting that time where they were more free, where they could break free from the boundaries of the school. And that was just really well done in the movie, especially with the music like Cam was talking about. The orchestra kind of represents like the traditions of excellence of the school, and how it wants to keep the students grounded. and then Keatings, who wants them to tap into their creativity and be their own people. And for those scenes, it uses more electronic music.
Yeah, exactly. And I have my Yamaha piano behind me, and for the first film we made for when I scored it, I used some of the like choir banks, but it actually is pretty cool. So like if you I don't know how well this is gonna pick up. It looks like it's picking up, but like if you just take like this isn't a very good one I picked out, but basically like just this kind of just yeah, something like that, you know. I don't know if it's picking up at all. I'll turn it up a little bit. I can't tell. But like here, let me go listen to it real quick. You know, let me try one more time here. Yeah, that's picking up a little better. For sure. But just like this kind of idea of like this constant noise in the back, right? That wasn't probably the finest demonstration. But and it was like it can be any sound, right? But just this constant frequency. And for me, watching that scene, it played out like because Neil as a character finds himself very stuck, you know, very stuck in like this loop that he wants to escape from.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can interpret it as for him, suicide is the only way to escape. And I feel like the drone is a really, really good musical representation of like of what he could have been feeling, and like the whole feeling of that particular song was more like like kind of like Eastern prayer music, you know,
Yeah.
where it's very arrhythmic, just frequencies happening, and the drone is important in that too. So I just thought that was a really, really, especially with the biblical allusions with that scene,
Oh yeah.
like the crown of
yeah.
thorns and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
That
yeah.
was all like, I feel like that just all contributes to creating this really interesting mood. And I think those two tracks in particular, the one from Going to the Dead Poet Society for the first time and Neil's suicide scene, are just totally different. And it, as those two scenes, it makes it feel linked, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, I guess another aspect of the movie that we talked about was the use of wide shots, because there's not very many of them. A lot of the times it's like close-ups or just medium shots of the characters. But then there's some wide shots at the beginning of birds flying. Halfway through, with again birds flying, it's where one of the characters is biking down a hill and he sends all these birds flying. And those to me kind of represent like, well, first of all, the first example of the birds kind of fades into the chaos of the school and all the kids being there. The second time, it just kind of represents the freedom of whoever's biking down the hill. But then the last time, it's completely different because it's right after Neil's death and it's snowing, so all the colors are cool, while the last ones were during the summer and the fall. They're warm colored. This one's completely white or blue, and you can just see Todd run down to a lake as he's grieving, and he just becomes so small, and you just get like a whole sense of how lost he is. And I think that use of wide shots throughout the movie is just kind of fantastic in tracking the characters.
Yeah, they used him very, very sparingly.
Oh, absolutely. And that's why they're used so well, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm, for sure. That's why I have Lucas on here. He knows things like that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. A lot of this I also got from people in film club who noticed a lot of things.
That's true. We had a really good conversation about that movie.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of anything else that we talked about. Oh, yeah. So, the introduction of Keatings as a teacher. So, of course, Mr. Keatings, played by Robin Williams, the whole deal of him as a teacher is that he's trying to make the kids think for themselves, while all the other teachers are trying to keep them in line and prepare them for college and get them through the school as cleanly as possible. So, for those teachers, this is near the beginning of the movie when it's going through all the kids' classes, the camera always follows... It always follows the teachers. It's always a medium shot.
It's like from the perspective of the kids too, because it's looking up at them. They're they're like overbearing on the perspective.
Yeah. Just imagine that the camera is just tracking the teacher back and forth, and that's most of what you can see. You only see the teacher.
Mm-hmm.
But then when Keating's is introduced, he's kind of hiding. Like at first he hides
Yeah,
behind a
he
doorway.
like peeks behind a door.
Yeah, he peeks behind a door, and then when he rushes out, he gets on top of his desk. I'm not sure if this happened in the same scene. This is a
No, I don't think it did. I think
Yeah.
no. What happened in the introduction scene? What wasn't it when he made them tear out the page? Or
Yeah.
was that the first scene he was introduced in?
I don't remember.
Either way, he kind of, or no. The first scene was he walks in and he says, "All right, we're
And he
gonna go out to the
whistles.
hallway."
Yeah,
He's like, "Follow me," and he goes out the back door, and then he peeks back and he's like, "Well, what are you waiting for? Come on."
yeah. He's
And that's
whistling
just
as
like-
well, right?
Yeah, he's whistling the 1812 overture. I think that's what it's called, right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
can't whistle.
yeah, that,
I literally
that,
can't.
that. You can't whistle?
I can't. Yeah, like that. I think that's the 1812 overture.
Not sure.
I'm pretty sure. Like we were talking about it in film club, and someone figured out what it was.
Yeah, but there are all these different symbols of Keating's just being a different teacher. He's focused a lot more on the kids, on
Yeah, for sure.
he wants them to become their own people. So that's why he's kind of peeking through the door. He rushes through. The camera isn't focused on him. That's why he gets up on the desk and tells the kids to go up on their desks because they're literally looking at the world in a different perspective.
Yeah.
And two other things. This had to do with the wardrobe.
Also, first though, in that first scene when Keating's is introduced and they're all in the hallway, and he's talking to them about stuff, the whole "oh, captain, my captain" and everything. When they're all when they're looking at those pictures, of like all the old classes, and Keating's is behind them, like seize the day.
Yeah,
You know,
I was
all-
just gonna mention that.
all of them. The camera perspective shows all of the kids in front, and then Keating's like walking around behind them, and like the way
Yeah.
it's like framed or blocked or whatever fancy word you want to use. It's like it show like again it like you said, it puts the focus on them.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely.
And
Because
he's
they're
just
in
in
the
the
foreground.
back.
Yeah, yeah. It's that whole like idea of directors really making critical decisions with where the camera is and what it's doing.
Yeah.
Because they could have filmed the scene a number of ways, but the way that they chose to do it was with the students, right in the front, with Keating's kind of poking in through the back, like you were talking about.
Exactly.
While earlier with the other teachers, it was just focused on them. And the last thing has to do with Keating's wardrobe, because all the teachers are wearing these suits, while Keating's is just wearing his shirt.
Yeah, he just has like not a blazer, but like just like an undershirt
Yeah,
that you would wear like underneath like the full suit.
exactly. Yeah, so there's just like a ton of little film elements like that that we were talking about during film club.
Yeah, for sure. And it's like the kind of thing where it's like you dear viewer, if you're not a film bro, might be asking why is any of this important? And I mean, like, it's kind of important just because we decide that it is, you know? It's like, and the fact of the matter is that they're like, we just assume that these things were intentional, because most of the time they are.
Yeah.
Because filmmakers usually have these very grandiose ideas about how they're going to present things,
Oh yeah.
and most of the time things are very on purpose.
Yeah.
So it's up to us to like figure out, like, that gives us a basis to go forward and analyze like why these decisions were made if we just assume that these things were done with that intent, you know?
I mean, the way that I like to think about it is that it's the same thing with analyzing a book.
Yeah,
Like-
exactly.
Like, you can look at what the author did, and you'll never know for sure whether they intended it that way, but usually they do, and you can look at why they made it that way. And in books, it's about the writing, it's about the style, the prose, all of that. But in movies, it's about what you see, and it's about what you hear, because the way I see it is that in a movie, it's what's written down being put on a screen, and that's what makes it a movie. So if you're wondering why it's important, I mean, it's not. If it's not important to you, then it doesn't have to be.
Very true.
But, I mean, and you don't even have to pay attention to it at all, because usually when it's done well, it works without you even knowing it.
Yeah, exactly.
Same
Like,
thing with a book.
Because here's the thing, like, movie, like, that film impacted me a lot. It meant a lot to me watching it. And then for a lot of, you know, for people that might just be all they need to enjoy things. And sometimes I wish that was me. But
Yeah.
but people like Lucas and I just choose to ask the question, but why was that impactful? But why did that work? You know, and
Yeah.
when you start asking those questions, that's what leads you down these paths of analysis.
Oh, yeah.
and the people that make these things are like us. So like
Yeah,
they
absolutely.
they put the breadcrumbs in place for us to figure out what they were trying to what their intention was, you know.
Yeah. And I guess that a big part of my interest in filmmaking just comes from seeing at like looking at what these other directors are doing and just wanting to do something kind of similar. Like wanting to have little hidden messages in my movies because like I said, if it's done well, you don't need to look for them. But it's always just kind of fun to do it anyways. And then that's why I wanted to make Film Club.
Yeah, for sure. Were there any other big points you wanted to hit on, like big things about the film you wanted to talk about?
Um, there's some there was some good framing stuff later on, or actually blocking, where Neil is talking to his father, and there's the whole power dynamic.
Oh yeah, the
Because
whole and it's kind of the same idea with the teachers,
oh yeah,
where the perspective, like where the camera is shot from, right?
yeah,
It's like which character is up in the frame,
yeah,
or like like because you know like the rule of three, like the rule of thirds, like dividing the
yes,
frame. It's like it's just yeah the angle and the perspective and all that stuff. And then when Neil was about to finally defy his father and speak his own mind, suddenly he stands up and the shot changes to both of them standing at the same height and they're like as tall as each other.
yeah,
Whereas all the other shots were either looking down at Neil or looking up at his father.
yeah, exactly. And there's a few more examples of that, like when Todd and his parents are talking to the headmaster. Um,
Yeah.
it's just it's really well done with the whole power dynamics, and that's where you really have to think about where you're shooting from with the camera. And there's also the scene leading up to when Todd is talking to the headmaster and his parents, where they're going up the stairs, and what they do is they use a still shot, or they use a series of still shots where the camera isn't moving, and it's this big hallway where you can see all the way down, and you watch them walk all the way down, and then you watch them walk all the way up a staircase. There's no cuts, there's not that much sound, and there's not that much movement except for the characters.
Yeah, it's very bleak. It's
Yeah.
like you know something bad is gonna happen.
Exactly. It kind of makes you feel that impending doom, and it makes you a bit uncomfortable.
It puts you in their shoes in
Yeah.
a way, through like the best way the film medium can.
Yeah, exactly.
It shows like the stillness and the awkwardness and the length of the process of going all the way to the office, you know.
Yeah, there's so much to be done with camera movement, because contrast that to a very famous scene in the movie where Keating and Todd's kind of making his first poem.
Yeah, and like you're gonna talk about the camera spins around.
Yeah, the camera's spinning around with Todd, and it's just so well done because it shows how this is such an eye-opening, moving experience for Todd. Because you know what? They could have filmed it as being static. They could have had the camera just like somewhere, anywhere, just looking at Todd. But they have it follow him through this process.
But no, I agree. Now that I think about it more, the camera work in that scene makes it. you know?
Yes. Yeah, exactly. I mean, just
It
I
makes
can't
it
even
so
imagine the
like
scene
it makes
otherwise.
the moment like as Keating's is like pushing him and like the camera's spinning around faster and faster. Then all of a sudden, like it shows Keating's like collapses down on the floor like listening, and then the camera like is still focused on that, and then it just moves right back to Todd.
Yeah.
And then there's just like a few seconds after he's done with the poem where it's just still and he's just like breathing heavy, and then everyone just starts clapping.
Yeah. And I mean, that scene wouldn't be the same without the camera movement.
No, it would kind of suck.
Yeah, it would. So, yeah, I guess that's it. I can't really think of much else.
I mean, did you want to talk at all about just like overall how the film made you feel watching it, you know?
Overall, how the film makes me feel. Sure, I mean, whenever I finish watching it, I always just want to do like spontaneous stuff. Like whenever I go out
Seize the day.
and about, yeah, I'm always just thinking like seize the day. Like I think one time after I watched the movie, I was going on a run and I ran past a guy sitting on a bench, and I was like, you know what? Maybe I'll talk to him. And he told me about the spirits in his
Because
attic.
you're gonna get kidnapped.
I'm not gonna get kidnapped. He didn't follow me home, although he wanted to. But he was telling me about the spirits in his attic and how he was trying to get rid of them. And I was
This is
just
why you
like,
don't stop and talk to random people on benches.
yeah, this probably isn't. This isn't a great example.
No,
but
it's
them-
not.
It gave me a meaningful life experience.
Call me the headmaster.
Listen, it's just the way that the movie is made. It has this huge emphasis on Keating's teachings of wanting the kids to think for themselves versus the school wanting them to be uniform and to conform to the standards of what's going on in the school. And because it's just so well done in the movie, like when I'm done watching it, it just makes me want to it makes me want to free myself in a way.
I get what you mean.
It makes me just want to do something.
After I went to your house and watched it, on the drive home, I was just like electrified.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? It just like it's interesting how like towards the end of the film, there's this idea introduced that like the characters in the Dead Poet Society kind of have to, like Neil's death becomes a reason for them to live their lives to the fullest,
Yeah.
because they're still here.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's kind of, in a way, I feel like the movie almost encourages the viewer to do that as well.
Yeah.
Like, drives you that, you're still here, you still have your life, so seize the day.
Yeah. I mean, the last scene in the movie is when Keatings is leaving his office.
That's such a good scene.
Absolutely incredible scene.
And that's, like, again, it's like, the soundtrack in the film is really good, I feel, because it's very, very sparing. But the times that it's used, like, just like dynamically, right? This music is so loud at the end.
Yeah.
But
so,
it builds up, and it really makes the moment feel, because like without the music, think about how that scene would be, right?
Yeah.
It would just be all these kids standing up on their desks, but the feeling of the music incites so much additional emotion.
It's
in
just
what
so
they're
powerful. It's so exciting, and it's just
it makes it feel exciting because like the pacing of the music,
Yeah. I mean, it visualizes them like breaking free and showing that Keating taught them something, that he reached them.
And I also adore the fact that the headmaster, when he's teaching the English class, tries to get them to read the page that was torn out.
Oh yeah,
that's more of a narrative thing, but that's just a really nice detail.
It's good use of irony.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
and then the way that it shows Keating's packing up his stuff as the headmaster talks about how brilliant this is and has Cameron read it off.
Yeah.
And then Keating's just kind of looks, just gets it.
Yeah.
That's just like a really good tie back.
Yeah. There's a lot of good callbacks throughout the movie. It just feels really sound. Everything feels like it's connected.
Yeah, I really did love the movie.
Yeah.
I feel like, and again, it's like, in terms of films, I don't get out much. It's probably the first like film bro type film I saw.
Probably, besides Interstellar.
Yeah, that was good. The Interstellar was good.
And
but
the
this
Batman.
Film, yeah, for sure. But this film just resonated with me in a different way, and I still think about it sometimes.
That's awesome. I'm glad that I could do that for you.
Yeah, it's like, and I know like maybe if we watch some of the other greats, I might feel the same way about them. But I really think there was something special about this one.
I mean, you've definitely seen yourself in the character's shoes in the past, haven't you?
Yeah, for sure.
Especially last year.
This desire to like break out and be different and show, like not especially with like the school dynamic,
Yeah.
And now I've settled a little bit more, but still, like, yeah, you're right. I guess I do see myself in the Dead Poet Society.
Yeah.
And this desire to be different and not fit in,
Yeah.
So maybe that's why it resonated with me so much. Brought back a little of that spark of my youth.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm not sure if it resonated with me as much as it did with you. I mean, of course I love it, but I guess it just coincides with my ongoing beliefs that I just want to be spontaneous and take every opportunity.
Quirky XD.
It just reinforces that for me, I just want to be such a crackhead sometimes,
Oh my god, you're such a crackhead.
I know.
Oh my god, bestie.
Okay.
No more of that.
Yeah. I mean, that's... Do you have anything else?
I don't think so. We talked for about a half an hour. I think we're probably good.
Awesome.
I will say, if you got through this whole podcast without having seen the film, that sucks because we spoiled it.
Yeah,
really
that's kind of dumb. I don't know why you would have done that.
Honestly, I would truly recommend this film. I really loved it. It's the kind of thing, like, I would definitely rewatch it, and it would be amazing to like see all of it again, knowing where it's all leading.
Yeah,
it's like that good. But yeah, I highly recommend it. It made me feel cool, and yeah, I don't know if there's anything else to be said. I think we broke some good stuff down.
Yeah, I agree.
I just heard Lucas's stomach grumbling from
Yeah.
across the room. It's
Yeah.
lunchtime, baby.
Yeah, that was me. I'm so hungry.
All right, well, I gotta go get chicken sandwich.
Yeah, I'm gonna go seize the day by eating my chicken sandwich.
So true, bestie.
Well, goodbye, boys. Daddy Big here.
That's you are not Daddy Big.
Daddy Big out.
All of these podcasts is just you gradually trying to steal the show more and more.
It's funny.
It is really funny. But I won't admit that.
Okay.
Daddy Big out!